The Story of Smile, 2022. At a psychiatric ward in New Jersey, Dr. Rose Cotter meets patient Laura Weaver, a PhD student who witnessed her professor take his own life. Laura claims to be the only one who can see an entity that pretends to be other people smiling at her. Laura has a sudden mental breakdown and convulses on the floor. As Rose calls for help, Laura smiles at her before taking her own life, cutting her face and throat with a shard from a broken vase. Following the suicide, Rose witnesses a vulnerable patient called Carl smiling at her and shouting repeatedly that she is going to die. When she orders for Carl to be restrained, Rose sees that Carl had been asleep the whole time. Concerned for Rose's mental well-being, her supervisor Dr. Morgan Desai gives her a week-long break. The supernatural occurrences continue, harming Rose's relationships with her fiancé Trevor and her sister Holly. Rose had a strained relationship with Holly ever since the death of their abusive mother, who overdosed and whose body was discovered by a young Rose. At her nephew's birthday party, Rose's gift is replaced with the corpse of her dead cat, who disappeared the night before, and she witnesses an unknown attendee smiling at her that no one else can see, convincing her she is now cursed. She tried to explain what is going on to Trevor, who refuses to believe her, believing that she's experiencing nothing more than a genetic mental illness passed down from her late mother. Discovering that Laura's professor was smiling at her during his death, Rose pays a visit to his wife Victoria, who claims that her husband started acting differently after witnessing a woman die by suicide. As Rose describes the similar experiences she's had, Victoria realizes Rose is not a reporter, believes she's delusional, and angrily screams at her to leave. Rose visits her ex-boyfriend, Joel, a police officer that responded to Laura's death. The two go through police records. In multiple cases, someone suffers supernatural hauntings before killing themselves, while smiling before passing them on to a witness, causing a chain reaction. Joel identifies that none of the cursed victims last longer than a week, with Rose on her fourth day, except Robert Talley, who managed to escape after killing a stranger. The witness of the murder became cursed. Rose and Joel visit Talley, imprisoned for the murder, under the pretense that a patient of Rose's has been cursed. Talley explains that the only way to break the chain is to kill someone else in front of a witness that the curse will transfer to. When Rose accidentally admits she is the carrier, Talley becomes panicked and hysterical, belligerently screaming to get Rose away. The next day, the demon assumes the form of her therapist, Dr. Madeline Northcott, and attacks Rose during a therapy session, telling her that she is running out of time. Rose has a vision of viciously murdering Carl at the hospital in front of Desai, who becomes cursed. After spotting a knife inside an erratic Rose's car, Desai calls the police on her. Rose drives to her remote, abandoned childhood home as Joel tries to track her down. Planning to deprive the demon of witnesses, Rose holds up in the house, where she finds the demon taking the form of her dead mother. It is revealed that Rose had actually found her mother shortly before she overdosed and ignored her mother begging for help. Rose confronts the demon, who morphs into an unnaturally tall, deformed version of Rose's mother. She sets the demon on fire with a lantern, seemingly killing it and ending the curse. Rose drives to Joel's apartment and is comforted by him until she realizes the demon is taking his form. Fleeing his apartment, Rose discovers the burning was a hallucination, and she is still at the old house just as the real Joel arrives. Panicking, Rose goes back into the house. The demon overpowers Rose and rips off its face, revealing its true form to her, before possessing her by crawling into her mouth. Joel enters the house and discovers Rose smiling and pouring gasoline over herself. Joel watches helplessly as a smiling Rose burns herself alive, passing the curse on to him.